History tells us that Alexander the Great conquered the world. His name is spoken as a symbol of genius, bravery, and unstoppable power. But what if the story we have been told is incomplete? What if behind the legend lies a darker, more complex truth, one that history often avoids confronting? At just 32 years old, Alexander ruled more land than any man before him. He never lost a single battle. Yet his entire world collapsed the moment he died. So, was Alexander truly great? Was simply the most dangerous man of his age? To understand the man, we must first understand his world. The 4th century BCE was a time of division and instability. Civilizations lived in relative isolation, separated by geography, culture, and perpetual war. Power belonged to those who could seize it by force and defend it with blood. Peace was always temporary. Conflict was inevitable. To the east stood the formidable Persian Empire, the largest the world had ever known. Its kings ruled as gods over vast, diverse territories, stretching from Asia Minor all the way to India. For generations, Persia had seemed invincible. No outside force had truly challenged its might. To the west, Greece was brilliant but fractured. The great city-states of Athens, Sparta, and Thebes were locked in endless rivalries, fighting each other for dominance. They possessed a rich culture and fearsome warriors, but they lacked unity. Their greatest weakness was not the Persian behemoth to the east. It was themselves. And then there was Macedon, situated to the north of Greece. It was often dismissed by its southern neighbors as a backward, semi-barbaric kingdom. But under the rule of one man, King Philip II, Macedon was undergoing a radical transformation. Philip forged the most disciplined and lethal army Greece had ever seen, built around the revolutionaries through a masterful combination of diplomacy, fear, and force. He brought the quarreling Greek states under his control. But Philip had a much greater ambition, a full-scale invasion of the Persian Empire. It was into this world, in the year 356 BC, that Alexander was born in the Macedonian capital of Pella. His upbringing was a volatile mix of two powerful influences. From his father, Philip, he learned the brutal arts of war and the unwavering exercise of authority. From his mother, the formidable Queen Olympias, he learned of destiny and divine right. She planted a dangerous seed in his mind, whispering that his true father was not Philip, but Zeus himself, the king of the gods. Alexander grew up believing that the limits of ordinary men did not apply to him. At the age of 13, his education took a legendary turn. Philip hired the greatest mind of the age, the philosopher Aristotle, to be his son's tutor. From Aristotle, Alexander learned philosophy, science, medicine, and logical reasoning. But one book, more than any lesson, shaped his soul. Homer's Iliad. He saw himself in its hero, Achilles. The idea of a short life of immense glory became more appealing than a long one without meaning. As he watched his father win victory after victory, a young Alexander grew impatient, fearing Philip would conquer the world and leave nothing for him to achieve. He didn't have to wait long. In 336 BCE, King Philip II was assassinated, plunging the kingdom into chaos. Macedon's hard-won stability was threatened by rebellion and internal strife. At just 20 years old, Alexander seized the throne. When the powerful city of Thebes rebelled, he made an example of it. He razed the city to the ground, sold its people into slavery, and sent a chilling message to the rest of Greece. Resistance now meant annihilation. Fear secured his authority. With Greece pacified, Alexander turned to his father's grand design. In 334 BCE, he crossed the Hellespont and invaded Asia. He marched against the largest empire on earth, vastly outnumbered. His first major test came at the Granicus River. In a reckless headlong charge into the enemy lines, Alexander nearly died, but his audacity won the day. The Persian forces fell back, tasting a major defeat at the hands of a Greek army for the first time in memory. The next confrontation was at Issus. Here, Alexander came face to face with the Persian king himself, Darius III. The battle was a tactical masterpiece. Alexander identified a weakness, charged directly at Darius, and watched as the great king of Persia broke rank and fled for his life. With his flight, the myth of Persian invincibility shattered. But not everyone broke Soisali. The island fortress of Tyre, a vital naval base, refused to surrender. What followed was one of the most incredible engineering feats of the ancient world. For 7 brutal months, Alexander's army built a causeway, a road through the sea itself, to reach the city walls. When Tyre finally fell, there was no mercy. The victory was as brutal as it was brilliant. His path then led him to Egypt, where, exhausted by Persian rule, the people hailed him not as a conqueror, but as a liberator. His journey took him deep into the desert, to the Oracle of Siwa. There, the priests reportedly confirmed what his mother had always told him and what he already believed. He was the son of a god. From Egypt, he marched into the heart of the Persian Empire. Persepolis, the magnificent ceremonial capital, was looted and burned to the ground, an act of symbolic revenge for Persia's invasion of Greece a century and a half earlier. But as Alexander conquered Persia, something began to change. Within him, he started adopting Persian customs, wearing their style of dress, and demanding the kind of prostration reserved for their divine kings. This transformation created a rift with his loyal Macedonian commanders. Friends who had fought by his side for years began to question his judgment, his divinity, his very identity. Those who voiced their dissent too loudly, like his trusted general Parmenion and the soldier Cletus the Black, where paranoia and megalomania began to consume him. His ambition knew no bounds. He pushed his army eastward, into the unknown lands of India. There, facing fierce resistance, war elephants, and a monsoon season that turned the land into a swamp, his army finally reached its breaking point. They had marched for thousands of miles, fought countless battles, and had not seen their homes in 8 years. They refused to go any further. For the first time, Alexander's will was denied. He was forced to turn back. He returned to Babylon, the new capital of his vast empire. But the man who had conquered the world was now battling his own demons and failing health. In 323 BCE, after a prolonged bout of fever, Alexander the Great died at the age of 32. On his deathbed, when his generals asked who his empire should go to, he allegedly whispered his final, fateful words: "To the strongest." This was not a plan for succession. It was a prophecy of war. His death unleashed half a century of conflict as his generals, the Diadochi, tore his empire apart, fighting each other for a piece of the prize. Alexander had conquered the world, uniting it by the force of his will. But in the end, he proved that no empire, no matter how great, can survive on the shoulders of one man alone. His legacy is not just one of conquests, but also a timeless lesson in the fragile nature of power. Thank you for watching. If you found this journey into the past insightful, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories that challenge the history you thought you knew.